Hello, welcome back to Tiny Nest. I'm Kiva.
And I'm Jake. This is another episode in our building series,
where we show the shelves that we built in our living room.
So this is the shelf that I put together, pretty much of just scrap materials. And the idea was to have a really open kind of thing, really accessible and wide space to store stuff on. So these will be the shelves. These are just rectangles of the same material as the wall panels, obviously not painted, but we did treat it with that clear coat stuff we've been using everywhere, and we put a little bit of that clear coat on everything else as well, just for a little bit of protection, so it's not just completely dry wood. This is just a piece of 1/2-inch plywood. It's actually left over from the sheathing, which feels like ages ago, but I'm trying to make use of some of that stuff. We just sanded it and put some of that treatment stuff on it. The legs are like old trim that we found in the garage. I think it's for the main house, and it had this really shiny old varnish stuff, so we sanded that off, cut things to the right length and whatnot. And I got the shelf kind of turned around so you can kind of see how it's built, but there is some pieces of sort of trim that we put that will be facing the outside so that you don't see this plywood edge or the connection to the legs or anything like that. And I just screwed them in kind of somewhat sketchily, but it looks good from the outside. Screwed them in from behind so that they're held in place, and those are treated with a white stain. Same stuff we used on the ceiling. It's literally just a square of plywood on the top, and then these legs are just screwed in, so they're really flexy. Everything's really wobbly, but the idea is that I'm going to get into place, screw the one leg that's in the corner into the corner, and it's going to act as the trim in that corner of the wall, and then I'm going to drill the little holes into the corners of the shelves and slot them over these little brackets, little shelf brackets, and basically use the shelves to make the thing, to basically hold the thing in place. Like hold the legs square to each other and everything. She'll also mention that there is that felt stuff, same stuff we used on the feet of the couch. Put that on the bottom of these legs because they will be moving around and don't want them to scratch the floor. Also, these pieces being scraps, some of them had a bow in them, and I purposely aligned the bow and used those pieces on the legs that will be against the wall, so that, like, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but this one's got quite a bow like this, but because I'm going to put a screw in to hold it down, it'll straighten it out. And I'm actually lucky I got my drill out to drill, but this was also the one piece that had holes in it from wherever it was installed as trim before. So I'm just going to put screws right through the holes to fill those holes and to secure it to the wall. I'm putting the shelf in.
Cool. Oh, hi, Ben. You made him into the shot.
Hello, Mr. Ben. Do you like my shelf? Huh? Should we put doggy toys on it? I think we should put all sorts of snacks for Ben.
Ben snacks. Oh, that was nice. Little Ben cameo.
He's the king of cameos. So is the cat, actually. Ow. So actually I think I will drill. So I've got one screw right about here, because that's currently the maximum bow that's left after putting the screw in. Alright, it's a pretty solid start. I just need to get the shelves in to hold this in place and complete the whole thing. So I just laid the piece resting on the brackets and then like pulled the legs into position, marked it. Now I've drilled it out, and now when I force the little tabs through the holes, that should actually hold the legs in that position. So the little tabs poke out a little bit through the shelves because the shelves are so thin. But I think that's gonna work all right for now. We can always change this. That's the beauty of DIYing everything, building things from scratch, is that we could either modify it or just replace it outright if it doesn't end up working. Okay, it's all fit together with the shelves. It was successful in terms of like, with the shelves now in, it's held together really strong. There's only screws through this back leg into the corner framing and one screw at the bottom of this leg because that leg was a bit twisted. So I've corrected that and secured that, but up here and here there's nothing actually holding it, and it's got a tiny bit of play, but I'm gonna leave it because we thought about screwing it in up here, but that would mean going through our nice feature walls, and just in case we need to replace it or change something, we'd rather not put any permanent marks or like damage through this wall. So I think that's pretty good. And these are pretty flimsy, obviously, but we're not planning on putting anything super heavy on them, so hopefully it'll be fine. I'll also point out that the layout of the legs being on the far ends this way of the shelves, and then it being flush on this edge, was intentional so that there would be a gap here, and that's so that if there's something that needs to be plugged in that we're putting on one of the higher shelves, we could pass the power cord, or if there's any other kind of cabling that can go in behind there. On the bottom there is all the speaker wires, because the subwoofer, which is what is going to connect all the speakers together, is going to sit down there, and then there's a plug dedicated for the speaker system. And then here, this is a path through some conduit to go back towards the computer / TV if we need to run any cabling between there and here. And then there's a double plug under here for any and all things that need power that will be on the shelves. Alright, we're going to make a shelf up here. Really, we started with one shelf on the side that's going to have the TV, because there's going to be plugs up there and we're going to tuck things away. And when we were looking at that and with the trim and everything, we realized that it would simplify the way we'd have to do the trim, rather than trimming around every single one of these joists. We just make simple trim pieces that come down just like a straight cut, not some fancy angle joint. And then this shelf will go right up under there, and then we'll put one long piece of trim underneath it. So that's one reason, and then also just more shelving space with little nooks to tuck things away is always useful when we have very little space. And this is a good spot because we're on the couch, so you're never going to be standing and like hitting your head or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much good. So this shelf actually, it's just a piece of the same material as our wall panels, and it's primed on both sides. We were going to paint it all, but since you'll never really see this side, we just left it with the primer, and then the side that's going to face down has 3 coats, which matches the walls, so it'll all look nice. And we're just going to put it up like this, and then the trim will go under here. And we're going to have it the full length and do all the joist spaces, but I accidentally cut this and there was no other scraps long enough. And the speakers are going to go in the 2 corners here anyway, so we'll make a special little speaker mount, and that way the speakers are as far into the corner instead of way out here, so it ended up working out. But yeah, that's pretty much that. We're going to pre-drill and use screws with a white head to make a bit of a nice finish. So,
is this like flush with the...
Is it flush?
Like that's what I'm aiming for?
Slightly less than flush. So you can come my way just like a hair. There?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, are you pretty much
flat
like, against the wall?
No.
That's good, the trim will hide it. Okay. The trim will hide everything. Okay. So I'll put this one in first. which edge do you want to face forward? This
Not
edge?
that one.
Or this edge?
Yeah. Well, they're both shit.
That's great. Get that wire.
This one?
Okay, yeah. Okay. That's gotta be... Yep, all the way. It's gonna go all the way to the end.
Oh, this one goes all the way then?
Yeah. It's literally gonna butt right up against there.
Oh. Oh, right, because you only f***ed up one of them, right?
Okay.
Animal error.
Oh, this one looks good. With the shelf fully assembled, I've started putting it to use as part of the nerd station here. So I'm used to having an extra monitor off to this side, and luckily I didn't even measure it specifically for the monitor, but it is the right height to accept it. However, this is in the way visually of the screen, so, and it's actually quite heavier, sort of heavier than I was thinking, so the thin shelf doesn't really like it. So what I'm going to do is basically I've got some extra brackets to hold shelves, so I'm going to put some, I think, halfway between these two, move this shelf to there, and then replace this shelf with probably a scrap of 1/2 inch plywood, and just make the shelf so that it extends out here, so that the monitor can actually scoot a little bit forward, and this edge of it can be in front of this leg. Once again, welcome to the future. I just wanted to show what became of the shelving here with the top shelf. I did create a, from 1/2 inch plywood, an extended shelf so that I could bring the monitor out in front of the leg, and that's working just fine. I just need to deal with this cable. It's the last thing I need to do to tuck everything in behind. And then the existing shelf I brought down and made sort of a shallow shelf here, which has the audio controller and some things. This has become the snack shelf. There's a Nintendo 64 here, and the subwoofer for the speakers is on the bottom as intended. In behind here is a bit of a catch-all. I still need to sort of organize a couple things, but we're making use of the top shelf as well. And then in the cubbies up top, there's one plug here, so that's charging, it's a charger for my wireless headphones. I've got camera and charging the camera batteries, external hard drives, and some other electronics and stuff. So it's not in its final state of how it's going to be, the stuff is going to be organized, but we're making use of all the shelving pretty much as intended, and it's working out quite well.
I am also in the future, and we didn't know exactly what we were going to put on these shelves, but we just kind of naturally started putting things like extra sweaters up there for when we're cold. And we also have paper towel up there for when we're eating. In this cubby are a few things that are actually going to be moved down to some corner shelves that we're planning on building on that corner and also on the opposite corner there. And it's just a few trinkets we got from Mexico, and our steam controller, and also a place for us to put a drink if we don't have the full dining table deployed. We'll do a follow-up showing the extra shelves once we have them all done. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and turn on email notifications so you never miss a video. You can also find extra resources in the description below.
We spend countless hours making these videos for YouTube, so if you appreciate our work, take 3 minutes to watch the video in the top left tile to learn some ways that you can support us for free.
We'd really appreciate it.